Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, December 13th. Skipped yesterday. I did get to play D&D with my buddies. Just fun. Glad to be feeling up to it. I am still at, like I said on Sunday, like 90%. I'm not feeling as good as I want to. I am continuing to recover. And I recovered quite a bit in relatively little time, and feel like it's been twice as long, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm not continuing to get better, and that sucks. Oh well. At least I got to the point where I can go about life before it stopped, I guess. Anyways, it is Tuesday. Tuesday is movie day. Great chance for me to be relaxing, so and it's tempting to just keep going with James Bond. I'll get to that soon. But for today, you know, it's December, winter. Let's watch a bit more of a holiday-ish movie. Home Alone 2. I watched Home Alone last year. But did not get beyond that. So this year, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. The one that's an actual, like a direct sequel to the first one, as opposed to the third one, which I love. Well, at least I did as a kid, but is not a direct sequel. But Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, same kid, same villains, whole new environment. Let's watch Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. And I would give Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, a 7.9 out of 10. From the back of the box. Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin, is back. But this time he's in New York City. With enough cash and credit cards to turn the Big Apple into his own playground, but Kevin won't be alone for long. The notorious Wet Bandits, Harry and Marv, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, still smarting from their last encounter with Kevin, are bound for New York too, plotting a huge holiday heist. Kevin's ready to welcome them with a battery of booby traps the bumbling bandits will never forget. It's good. It's good. It is very much a derivative of the first movie. It is very much derived from that plot. But it's fun, and it does a few new interesting things. The characters at the hotel, Tim Curry, wonderful. But essentially the plot being, instead of Kevin being left at home, he ends up boarding the wrong plane at the airport. He gets a little further with his family, but not all the way to vacation destination this time. Still. And he ends up in New York while they end up in Florida. He has his dad's bag, which includes his dad's credit card and cash, and just... He causes trouble. Finds out that the now sticky bandits, who are at large, having broken out in a prison riot, and are planning to rob a toy store that he learned is donating their Christmas proceeds to a children's hospital. The creepy person in this one, like it was the old man in the first movie, is an old woman that's like a homeless lady that, the pigeon lady. She likes pigeons. But he is a lot quicker to go from frightened of her to, wait a minute, she's being nice, let's talk to her and be kind. And yet again in the end, she comes to the rescue when the bandits do finally get him. By sicking the pigeons on them. But with conversation with her, as he feels, you know, he's taking all the blame for everything that went wrong. And she, you know, says, well, do a good deed. And, you know, just sort of throwing on her own crazy pigeon lady moral philosophy. And, and like things like the credit card that he's been using being his dad's, they marked it as stolen so they could track down where, if he used it, where he was. So the hotel scared him away and threatened to call the police on him. So yet again, he's afraid to call the police. He feels like he has to take matters into his own hands. He has an uncle that lives in New York, but who's in Paris and whose home is being renovated. So he goes and booby traps up their home, which is already like a construction yard, like half torn apart. Which leads to even more interesting kind of environment. But same plot as before, and he gets the bandits, he takes pictures of them, gets them to chase him there. Gets them a lot of concussions, so that it makes, at the very start of the confrontation, so it kind of makes sense that they're not thinking straight when trying to get him. He does things in like this one, it ups the ante. He murders them. I'm sorry, the movie lets them keep going, but Marv is electrocuted to death, and Harry is exploded. They would have died in those. I'm sorry, he killed them if this were not a movie that treated those scenes like cartoons. But I mean, really, with the explosion for Harry, he set the whole building on fire. And Marv, he had literally electrocuted his flesh off. We saw his skeleton. They're dead. They would be dead. It definitely went a little extreme here, with the torture. I mean, not that they're not trying to kill him as well. So I mean, it's not like it's bad that he did that, but they treated it more like a cartoon. And there were definite times where they just added sound effects that are very much, this is treating it like a cartoon. But it's still entertaining. It's still fun. Then eventually he runs them around the house, tormenting them, torturing them, gets them to chase him to the park. He slips and falls. He ends up in their clutches, and that's when Pigeon Lady throws birdseed all over them, and Kevin sets off the fireworks that he told the police to be looking for when he got away, because he called them just before they got up with him, just as in the first movie. And those fireworks, we see him buy those. It's one of the first things he does when he gets to New York, is he's mucking about just checking out New York before he even goes to the hotel, and he buys fireworks. We see them, and then they're just gone, and it's not until like the last, the end of the movie. Anyways, because he'd helped save the toy store, his family finally catches up with him at the end. They're all staying in a complimentary room at the Plaza Hotel, because the Plaza Hotel, who has the finest idiots in New York working for them, gave them a complimentary room after chasing the child away into the chaos of New York when they were confronting him about the credit card, where they're trying to find the person doing it. And Duncan's Toy Store, in gratitude for the money being returned to go to the children's hospital, sends a bunch of gifts their way. Very nice. It's fun. It's a lot of the same stuff as before. We still get like when he's planning his thing, like he rolls out his idea over the blueprints, but it makes sense that there's blueprints there. The house is literally like a construction yard. Yeah, just things like that. Quite a bit feels very Christmassy, very much he didn't want to go to Florida anyways because they don't got Christmas trees, which they do have Christmas trees in Florida, I'm sorry. But yes, it does rain a lot. So when his mother finally catches up with him, it's at the biggest Christmas tree in New York, because that's where she knows he'll be. There was also, probably one of the greatest moments is the point where she goes to her brother-in-law's house to see if Kevin maybe went there. But she's not getting an answer at the door because they're in Paris. And it's at the point where Kevin is off getting the bad guys to chase him away from the toy store. And so she was there, and she leaves just before he returns. Like, if she'd have had a little more trouble hailing a cab, she'd have found him there and caught up with him before the bandits did. Totally different story, obviously. But there is just a point where he resigns himself to. I think he uses the term another Christmas in the trenches or something like that, where he's like, can't call the cops. I gotta catch these bad guys on my own. Poor kid. But he does it. And it's fun. It's a fun one. Otherwise, I'm gonna get rest because I need it. Keep trying to feel better. Thank you for joining me. Join me as my journey continues.